You're welcome back. We are counting down to the 2023 general elections, and a whole lot of things are happening, so to say. Some are still strange to some people, no thanks to the Electoral Act. And as we speak, some issues are still in court. We have maybe some politicians think it's a joke, and once those who know what it should be take them to court, you can begin to see the outcome. For example, we know that some people are having it rough now because they didn't collect, maybe they collected a form to run for senatorial during the primaries, and of course eventually they now ran for, they ended up as candidates of House of Reps here and there. So a whole lot of issues here and there, and this is coming because of the Electoral Act. And INEC is also still solid about making sure that your votes count, and Nigerians are beginning to have confidence in INEC. Many people have turned up to collect their voter cards because they are, with the little we've seen in Ekiti and Osun State, they begin to see that INEC is very ready to actually do well and make Nigeria proud, talking about electioneering issues come 2023. So today, on this program, this moment, we want to look at something very unique, something that we should learn from, and that is talking about 2022 Electoral Act and procedure, things Nigeria needs to know. Okay, we have two guests. One is in the studio, and that is talking about Deji Ogundimo, who is the public affairs analyst and coordinator, Ogun State coordinator, Progressive Volunteers. Okay, Progressive Volunteers for Tinubu is allowed. Campaign is has actually opened. We'll also be talking to him. Deji, you're welcome to the program.
Thank you very much.
Okay, we also have joining us from Lagos a very experienced former INEC electoral commissioner who participates on the program this morning like a teacher, so to say, clearing the gray areas in so many areas that we think Nigerians should know. Mike Igini is a legal practitioner and a former INEC electoral commissioner. Barrister Mike Igini, good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me. Good morning to the people of Ogun State.
Good. Let's start from you. 2022 Electoral Act and procedure, things Nigeria should know. Are we home and dry from what you have seen, and of course from what is on ground from the position of INEC? How confident should Nigerians be ahead of this election?
Okay, thank you very much for having me be part of this conversation. Several years ago, when America was having, at the earlier stages of American democracy, J.F. Kennedy once told Americans that, look, democracy gets better when the people have all the information they need to have. Now, for a successful election, from the outset, let me make it very clear that the success of election is a multi-stakeholders responsibility. That of the starting point is with the INEC, the judiciary, the political parties, security, candidates, citizens, CSO, and media. These are the entire stakeholders that will make a successful election. Now, by way of quickly restating what you said, I am a former immediate, past commissioner in INEC. I spent 10 years in the service of the nation in matters of elections. I left in August, and I'm still in the mood of an umpire. So my intervention is strictly to be neutral, because some of the things that are to be implemented now were some of the things we designed as part of the thing. And so for us, for me, we want to see the process. The process is more important. If the process is right, the outcome will be better, will be okay. Now, in preparing for the 2023 election, one of the greatest things that have happened is we Nigerians need to know is the content of the 2022 Electoral Act and the procedures for elections. But first, by way of observation, it must be noted that laws, no matter how good, procedures, no matter how good, are not self-executory. They don't execute themselves. It requires people who are committed to do so. And that was why I listed all the key stakeholders in this exercise. Therefore, for the 2022 Electoral Act, when my first advice to political parties and candidates is to get as many lawyers as possible to understand the content of the 2022 Electoral Act. Because there are profound provisions. As I said in the sister station, there are a few that I will never mention at all. But the ones that Nigerians need to know are the ones I want to mention as follows. So by way of an overview, because the election is in resist, we have passed the stage of nomination of candidates, primary, even though the echo of that is very much around. So first, we can take note of the following provisions. Section 29 of the 2022 Electoral Act, Section 31, Section 33, Section 34, Section 47, Section 50, Section 51, Section 60, Section 64, and of course, the section bordering on electoral offences, from Section 115 to Section 129 of the 2022 Electoral Act, in particular, Section 121, dealing with the issue about vote buying. This is an overview of just a few provisions that are very important. And it must be noted that in the 2022 Electoral Act, INEC made a total of 91 proposals. 48 were accepted. Those 48 include those profound ones I've just mentioned. Now, for the primary, we have passed through primary, but the echoes of primary is still very much around. Because, as I will observe here, as we are going for the 2023 election, it is very likely that the issue of who is a candidate for respective position will not be known before the election next year. Why? Because the provision of Section 82, particularly Section 84, have been violated by political party. What does that say? Section 84 says to deal with the issue about internal party democracy that is a problem in our political parties. Section 84, subsection 1, provided clearly to deal with the issue about internal party democracy, to avoid arbitrariness of political parties picking and choosing candidates without records to their members. Section 84, subsection 1, provided clearly, unequivocally, that a party intending to feed a candidate for election shall conduct primaries that shall be monitored by the Independent National Electoral Commission. All right? Which means that if you look at that section, the word shall was used twice to underscore the fact that once INEC is present and Mr. Ojo had emerged through a process observed, monitored by INEC, it will be expected that under section 29 of the Act, when political parties is required to submit names to INEC, it is expected that that same person that emerged, recorded by INEC, will be the person that the party is expected to submit under section 29. And that is why that section says that the political party can only submit a candidate that have emerged from valid primary.
Okay, Barrister Guinea, let us pause there first and let's allow, you heard him.
Yeah.
Yes, and he like where he started from. And now, supposed candidates are having problems. Not in all the major political parties. Yeah. Is it because they did not understand what Barrister Kimi said, or they thought they could just have their way?
Thank you very much. Like he rightly said, that democracy and advancement of it is a process, and the process can never be perfected. Even the advanced democracies of the world still have one way or the other that they are trying to make things happen as regards their laws that has to do with how people are governed and other matters, including electoral process. It's a good development that the 2022 Electoral Act has been, brought into our political system. Its implementation is now another matter that we will begin to see as situation arises when election is actually being conducted subsequently. Regarding the question about what political parties think, it is not a surprise that to a very large extent, most of the issues that has caused a lot of very big problem for political parties and the political process are being taken care of through this 2022 Electoral Act. I want to start by the issue of financial independence of INEC. It's a very good development. The process of election ought to be independently in the hands of electoral umpires, as the case of Nigeria, INEC. Releasing money for INEC for a period of, 180 days before election now is a very welcome development. And I believe this and so many other things that has been taken care of will be a plus for the electoral system and the common man on the street, how people who govern us emerges through their political parties and how they come to office.
Okay, I was actually expecting you to, is it not worrisome before Dominic comes in? Because he has said it, why is it difficult for our parties to do transparent internal democracy?
That is not too far-fetched. I wasn't too young between 1979 to 1983 during the Second Republic, where a group of individuals that has the interest of the state at heart come up to form political parties, and we all know or had an idea of how parties or political parties should be run, even when we begin to go into history. These are the people that will come together to finance the parties that they believe they want to win a position of authority to be in government. They come together, they tax themselves. But what do we have today in Nigeria? We don't have anybody or people putting down their resources to finance political parties anymore. They leave the administration or the control of the party in the hands of any member of the political party that takes power, either a state governor, either a senator. So he just goes to the center to bring in money to fund the party. And controls the party, and he who pays the piper. We all know about that. So definitely, it is going to be difficult, if not impossible, for any member of the public or a non-politician to think that somebody, either through means or crooks by any means, funding a political party. Definitely when you are the one funding a political party, definitely your personal interest must be protected. So when we are now talking about parties not allowing due process will always be in the book as far as the process we talked about, financing a political party not being in the hands of the members of the party but in the hands of an individual. We will continue to have this scenario as situation permits when these are not checked.
And of course, the lawyers will continue. Those who know the rule and know that it has been faulted will continue to take them to court and likely win. So that, as just like we have been seeing all over.
But it has been delaying the process. It has been causing so many furore.
Okay.
Now, Mr. Mike Igene, let me come to you. When Mr. Deji was talking earlier on, he spoke about independence of INEC. How independent INEC really is, and then we all know how important that really is as far as the 2023 election is concerned. And one of the aspects of independence he spoke about is the issue of funding, and the Electoral Act actually provided that the funding for the election should have gotten to INEC at least a year before the election. You left INEC just August. Can you tell us if INEC has gotten the fund for the 2023 elections already? How sure are you that INEC will truly be independent as far as this election is concerned? And then, one of the key areas of the Electoral Act really is the transmission of results, electronic transmission of results. I would like you to also tell us more about that and how that is going to guide against rigging in this forthcoming election.
Well, thank you very much. For the purpose of the benefits of the Nigerian people, because the subject is what do Nigerians need to know towards the 2022 elections. So I want us to narrow down to issues, challenge, that is the faces that's ahead of us, by dwelling less on past activities that are already gone, but are of importance. For instance, I just talked about the fact that though if you look at the Electoral Act, it's in phases. There's a period for nomination. There's a period for registration. There's a period for nomination. But the echo of the outcome of primary is still very much around. Now there's a period for flag of campaign. What are the laws that will govern campaigns? There's now a period for the election itself, which is one of the areas I really think that we should focus on. What are the rights of Nigerians, particularly party agents at the polling unit under the current act? How are the current act given power to Nigerian people? Let me tell you here. The 2022 Electoral Act has given power to the Nigerian people. Whatever we make of it is now clearly in our hands. I will send to you very shortly a pyramid. If you look at the pyramid, I'm going to forward to your WhatsApp so that they can display for Nigerians to see. You will now see clearly that power has returned to the people. But are the people aware of the power that they have? This is the main thrust of this conversation. But to answer briefly your question, as I speak to you today, the issue of funds is not a problem for INEC. Okay. The issue of independence is not a problem of INEC. The two fundamental ways to determine the independence of anybody, organization, institution, is to look at the mode of appointment of those who operate in that system. And number two is the funding procedure, which you have talked about. The current act was signed on the 25th of February this year, stipulating issue that a year before election, which is going to be a good practice, these are some of the input we put in there. So I can tell you here that the issue about finance is not there. That is not to tell you that, remember, the finance for INEC, you release them even in phases. For example, I mean, when you put a budget, when you have a budget gives you what you need to spend. But money will be released to you according to what is coming to the country. Not the money, for example, for payment of ad hoc personnel. Those are money you can even release a week to 2 weeks to election, 3 weeks so you can release that. The money that has to do with fundamental preparations, production of ballot papers, ballot boxes, and all that have to do with procurement that you cannot pick from the shelf, all that is going on. As I speak to you, though I'm out of the place, I am aware that across the 6 geopolitical zones, resident electoral commissioners are receiving, batches of beavers, part of it we are going to speak about. So procurement process is ongoing. Now, having respect to that, with respect to issues about procedure for election, I think that the reason why I went the way of giving you a basis is that right now, by way of concluding my thoughts on the issue about primaries, which will make a problem, because the first thing that the full responsibility of any political party in a democracy is having candidates for election. We have got to a level in our country where, as we have seen in recent elections, that even candidates for election are not even known even before the day of election. That's a fundamental, setback in our democracy. In Bayelsa, in Owerri, Imo State, or some of those off-season elections, if you were following what was going on, the dispute about who's a candidate were never known until after election. And that's why INEC now have to rely on section 222 of the Constitution, to the effect that if we don't find a fit candidate for election, INEC now declared the party in terms of the vote given to them and not the candidate. Now we are in a country, whereas in Kenya, you spend just within 2 weeks to resolve a whole presidential election. But in Nigeria, for pre-election, House of Assembly election matter, and all of that matter, you spend 180 days at the Court of First Instance, which means 6 months. All right? This is because of the kind of country we find ourselves. At the Court of Appeal, you spend 60 days. Supreme Court, and that's 60 days. That's why I have told you here, mark my word, many of the crises that arose from failure of political parties still adhering to the current act will not be resolved. We will not know some of the candidates who will fly this thing before the coming election, because they have to get to Supreme Court. Most of them will have to get to Supreme Court, which means that by 2023, despite the early timetable that INEC has given, we are still going to be faced with that problem. But let's put that aside. Where we are now, we are at the stage of the flag off of the campaign for elections last month on the 28th. What are the current laws made by the Act to govern this situation? Section 91 of the current Act has now further to strengthen the Nigerian police, have added Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps to join the police. But what is more important here is the fact that under the current 2022 Electoral Act, signed into an act on the 25th of February this year, the job of the police is limited. The word limited should be underlined, to providing security. Police do not have the authority to be given permission. A political party candidate they don't have to go and seek permit from the police to organize rallies or procession. What's required of them is to notify the police to provide security. And that is why Section 91 was very clear and unambiguous, that the job of the police is to provide security, limited, that's the language of the Act, limited to providing security. Furthermore, with respect to the crisis of venue, the Act has ensured that under Section 95, that state apparatus, state television, print media owned by the state or the government or the federation belongs to all Nigerians. Therefore, any person contesting election under any political party, whether the ruling party at the state level or at the federal, must be given access to federally owned radio station, television, stadia, civic center, belongs to the entire people. In which case, I am saying that in Ogun State, the television station owned by the states, the stadium or stadia, I mean you have there, civic center, belong to the entire people of Ogun State. Any political party wishing to use that must now have to apply. Under the current act, before now, whenever there's a crisis as to the use of those facilities, nobody to resolve it. Now the current act has put a duty on the police to, in a consultative manner, not in an imposition arbitrary manner, to resolve issue about venue. That is to say, it will always be first in time. If Party A had applied for the use of the stadium and the first to make an application, but subsequently Party B, which is the ruling party in the state or the federal, now want to use that stadium, all right, now want to use the same day Party A applied, the police is expected to stay on the basis of first in time. It should be the party that applied first that must use it. That is the responsibility under the new act. Now, more important is to now go, so we assume that when we are done with the campaigns, we are now entering the election for the purpose of this our engagement. Now, on election day, as you all recall, election will be on the 28th of February for presidential and national assembly election, 2 elections on that day, and 3 presidential, senatorial, and federal house elections on that day. The second phase of election will be on the 11th of March, governorship and state house of assembly election. These are the 2 phases election we have. Now, on that day, what should Nigerians, what should the people of Ogun State know about what will happen on the first phase of election? On that day, every son and daughter of Ogun State Nigerians who have attained the age of 18 and above, who actually registered throughout the period of registration and have his PVC at the polling unit where he registered or she registered, he will go straight and queue up with your PVC. Now, the accreditation process is bimodal. Accreditation is bimodal. We no longer have incident form. There's no direct voting. You come on that day. First, they will check your PVC. Of course, all INEC PVC are all genuine. Now, there are 5 methods of confirming a voter in Nigeria, of checking that whether the holder of that PVC, mind you, a PVC holder is a mere holder. PVC belongs to INEC. The proprietary right, it is for INEC. You are just a mere holder. And that is why, by the time we deal with the issue about vote buying or selling of PVC, you discover that that's why it's a crime for you to sell a PVC. It does not belong to you. It belongs to INEC. You are a mere holder of the PVC. Now, once you come to the polling unit, something has happened. Something new has happened. Section 49 that they used to rig the election before have now changed to Section 47 by the new amendment that repealed the 2010 Act. Now, under the old Section 49, a presiding, a voter, when he comes before a presiding officer, what is required was just to show your PVC. And that section said that if the presiding officer is satisfied, please underline the word satisfied, that the person is the rightful person, he will issue a PVC, issue a ballot paper for him or her. That was where what led to the question now is, when you say the presiding officer is satisfied, what do you mean when you say what satisfies him to show that the real person holding that PVC is the genuine holder of that PVC? That was the section that politicians were using to buy PVC, the warehousing of PVC, because all you require is to compromise a presiding officer. So all the PVC you bought, you can put as many parts, 100 people, 50 people, who are not actually the real owner of those PVC, give after compromising the presiding officer. So once it comes before the presiding officer, since what the act says, upon being satisfied that the person between him and all of that, that's where they were using to rig election by buying PVC, warehousing PVC. But now here is the new thing. Under the current 2022 Electoral Act Section 47, it now says that a voter, you come before the presiding officer, you bring your PVC, they will confirm, verify, and authenticate. Now, by authentication, we will have to confirm your biometric. Now, for any reason, your biometric could not be confirmed. The unlikely event that your biometric could not be confirmed, unlike in previous regime, that is the past immediate use of our car readers, and now we could do what we call facial accreditation. If we cannot get your finger correct, what about your face? That was why we deliberately, during the registration, requested all Nigerians that if you are registering, you smile, all right, then still picture, all right? That's what INEC has done. So the moment they bring your PVC before the beavers, it will pull out your detail, who you are, everything about you. So now there's no more incident form. You can no longer talk about incident form. That one is gone forever. Now with this development, we are bringing about the idea of one person entitled to one ballot.
Mr. Mike Igene. Well, we really appreciate what you are doing for us this morning, and then we understand that it's a flow of thought, and then it will be very difficult for us to cut in because, I mean, you are driving at something. But we will appreciate if, because of time, if you would,
right. Good.
Okay. Let's Mr. Igini, we'll come back to you. And when we come back to you, you just we expect you to give us the assurance about how impeccable the electronic transmission of resources. And people have been talking about the beavers too. Where does the beaver generate what is transmitted? Is it inputted? Is it going to be inputted? If it's going to be inputted, is that not going to be compromised? All these assurances Nigeria want. But we'll come back to Deji first. We'll go back to you. You have a, I mean, you listen to everything. I mean, that marks assurance, double assurance, triple assurance. Now, for you people on the political side, how confident are you that, yes, we have what it takes? Let us just go and do our homework and let people vote for us. Our votes are secured. What's the feelings?
Thank you very much. Like Mr. Igini has rightly pointed out, a lot of gray areas that I would have loved to question here, but going back to those issues that he has mentioned could, draw us so many dreams about time and, the time frame for this program. Nigerians are the end beneficiaries of the whole process that the INEC Act has brought about. And I believe we need more of political education that will lead to emancipation, because it's just the 4-year malaria we Nigerians love to catch when it is about a year or 2 years to election. We are not even very educated to know what actually drives a government, a political system, and what we have. Nigerians believe that when election is coming, look at Mr. James very well before you vote for him. Look at Alhaji very well. Alhaji Hakim is a very good man, so let us vote for him. The other person that has been there. That is not what we Nigerians need to do. When we really want to have the type of government we have been desirous of over the time, we must begin to ask for a change in the system. It has been or let me say it cannot be overemphasized, the need for a kind of re-engineering of our political system. The system we are practicing today is still an offshoot or basically the unitary system of government that has been foisted on Nigerians as far back as 1966. And those flaws and hindrances the unitary system of government is giving us is still the element of those things that are still drawing us backward. For Nigerians to begin to feel whatever good thing any electoral act or procedure brings to Nigerians, we must have a system that works for the people. That is just the most important aspect of Nigerians being the beneficiaries, like you have said. And on the side of political parties, every system is prone to being abused one way or the other. Other thing we need to put in place is a strong institutions. And I will go back to the issue of system. The system that still gives a governor or a political office holder immunity to be questioned when some things are raised about such individual. It is going to be difficult for us to arrive or achieve anything if we still have political office holders that are protected by the system. They're supposed to be answerable to the people to a very large extent. But the type of system we have, like Mr. Ogini has said a lot of things now. Okay, how do we see the implementation? What happens if tomorrow either a politician or an INEC official flouts or go against any of these laws that has been finely defined to us now? So we need systematic change, systemic overhaul of the system. A system that still allows a state governor to have undisclosed billions of naira every month as security vote, and we have a federal police system. From that security vote, that governor is not paying the salary of those policemen, and is not the one that is necessarily going to provide equipment for the police.
So what
systemic
security about the security vote if it's not taking care of security?
So those are the things that we are pointing out now. So we need a system that will challenge and take care of all these issues. It's not about finely quoting laws and defining them. We need a system that works.
And I think that's why we have the court. I mean, anyone who runs foul of any of the acts provided for in the provision, I mean, in the Electoral Act.
Mr. Ogini has also said that even with the courts, some political parties might not present candidates till the day of the election.
I'm happy that actually came from Mr. Ogini. Mr. Ogini.
Yeah.
I'm happy that came from Mr. Ogini.
So,
and those are the things we are talking about.
Some areas are clumsy.
That is it. It's not clumsy. It is a deliberate plot to kind of circumvent the system or just abuse the system in a way. I've read through the Electoral Act and the structures and the rest of it, but the important thing is that power, to a very large extent, is beginning to drift, not at a very high speed though, to the people in a way.
Let's go back to Mr. Igini. You were actually talking about the election day and what really happens at the polling booth. Can you briefly tell us, I mean, because of time?
Right. Yes, because of time.
Yes, well, before you answer that question, I think it also goes to what I said earlier on. What we are concerned during the election day is that our votes are counted, then transmitted. Along the line, something happens. How sure are we now that that will not happen again? Then the beavers too. Yeah, go ahead.
Right, thank you very much. Well, the starting point to assure Nigerians is what happened in Edo State governorship election. You recall that the crisis about a governor moving from the ruling party at the center, which was considered as a spite, to another party, was a serious issue. What saved that system was the current regime of INEC. Now, from Edo State, you proceed to Anambra. From Anambra, you go to Ondo State. From Ondo State to Ekiti, Ekiti to Osun. These elections reflected the will of the people. People went to court. They didn't go to court on the basis of INEC procedure, but about qualification of the candidate. That's to tell you the level of improvement. And once the election begins to improve, what happens? The instead of vote buying will spike up, because election before now, politicians don't pay attention to citizens. In fact, if you all recall that before now, they say, "Oh, we have done the election. Whether you vote for me, don't vote for me, we will be the winner," and all of that. They now realize that it's the people that now matter. I can tell you here that power has been returned back to Nigerian people, and that's why your program continue to do that, to tell people. So I tell you what are the powers at the polling unit. Now it's no longer possible to do what they used to do before. Number two, once the vote commences with the beavers for accreditation, after the accreditation and the poll have ended, they will do the sorting of the ballot papers. They will do the counting. After the counting, Section 60 of the current Act provides that compulsorily, mandatorily, the presiding officer shall enter into the form EC8A, the scores of political parties. Thereafter, he will stamp the result, sign it, countersigned by the party agent. He or she is now required to upload that result. Listen to this now. Upload the result into the cloud. Upload it into the cloud. Like when you send your SMS, or those of you right now, remember when you used to lose your telephone, you say, "Oh, I've lost my data, I lost everything." But the moment you have a new handset and a new, what do you call it, a SIM, once activated, every data will be in there. That was what was done. Now, the beauty of the new regime is that you will upload it, that result from EC8A will be given to party agent. Now, talking about hacking, who will hack the copy given to the party agent? Hard copy given to nobody. So at this point, my first call to candidate is that go and prepare and set up your situation room. You don't need to wait for INEC to do your own collation anymore. You know, before now, the presiding officer, after he has uploaded, Section 64, subsection 4, requires that the presiding officer must upload both the scores of the party and the number of accreditation must be uploaded. The language, the act use the word transfer. Colloquially, they use a transmission. What we do is basically to upload into the cloud. As I used to demonstrate, I say it's not just going up. If you have a ladder that you can use to go to the cloud to go and be searching for, say you want to hack, good luck to you. But as you have seen from Ekiti, all the states I mentioned to you, all the effort to try to do that failed woefully. Now, a candidate agent has right under Section 61 of the Act to demand for a recount because of what we have seen with primary processes where they are doing counting. I'm sure we have seen some of those videos. They will say 1, 2, 7, 12, 13, 18, that kind of thing. So you can demand for a recount. But what is important is that the number of accredited voters must be uploaded. Now, here is what is really more important here. Before now, the presiding officer, after that result had been announced, you used to hear that on his way or her way to the work collation center, the result will either have changed or a new result has been switched from what happened at polling unit. Now, under the current regime, the winner of an election at a polling unit remains the winner at the War Collation Center at all the levels. Now, before now, myself, who is here now, I am the presiding officer. The anchor man wearing glasses, he himself, the War Collation officer. And the other two gentlemen there represent the local government and other collation center.
Barrister Igini, let me on behalf of those who are watching us, actually confirm to you that let us take this as just part one of this all-important discussion. We need all this information. Are you assuring us that we'll do the part two with only you? Because I've just seen the organogram you sent, and there's a lot of discussion we need to know, and a lot of explanation, and we need to also put it to our viewers to see and learn more. Just like our second guest has said, we need a lot of education. So, Barrister Igini, I want to thank you very much. I want you to say that by the grace of God, we'll also do this together Friday next week. Are you assuring us?
Same time. I have to check my diary. I have to check my so much for me to handle. I will check my diary. But that pyramid is just to show you that the conduct of election is not in the hands of Nigerian people, because the first three columns, headquarters, state, and local government, that is where the job of the core staff of INEC ends. But every other thing down to the base, you find out that it is made up of Nigeria. So the outcome of the election is a reflection of our collective value and commitment to have a good election in our country. And I hope that help is on the way. The 2022 Electoral Act profound. So as to the next engagement, I think we would speak again.
Yeah, we'll talk. It's been a marvelous job you've been doing for us, and of course, I know you're also contributing your quota as an experienced man who is no more with INEC, but telling Nigerians what to know, that this election, this act that we're talking about, 2022 Electoral Act and Procedure, is all about Nigerians, and they should know their rights. Thank you very much, Barrister Igini. I'll talk to you after the program. Yes, your passing shots as we go.
Thank you very much, and I want to thank Mr. Igini for his time as well. Nigerians should begin to clamor for what we believe that are the elements of our democratic system, and ask for it in the most civil and polite way, so that one day and at a time the government will heed and the system can possibly be changed, just like we are seeing tremendous changes in INEC and the Electoral Act.
Thank you very much. That's how it's going to be on this section of the program, this segment of the program, rather, 2022 Electoral Act and Procedure, things Nigerians need to know. We hope to actually hook up with Mr. Mike Igini again next Friday, so that we throw more light on some gray areas that might not be too clear to Nigerians, so to say. Mr. Mike Igini, former INEC Electoral Commissioner, I want to thank you very much for joining us. All right, Dejogundemo is a public affairs analyst, public and political analyst, and Ogun State Coordinator, Progressive Volunteers for Tinubu. How's that going?
Going on very well.
We see you, and of course, come back with the other segment of the program. Don't go nowhere.